You ever sometimes just look at a comic book from your personal collection and go,
Damn.
that's a hot book? Another week, another list of the comic books defining this generation of collectors. Hit the like, slap that subscribe button, and enter to win this Omni-Man Invincible #1 Tyler Kirkham variant. And at the table virtually, broadcasting from somewhere on Spaceship Earth, we have the leader of the Gempire, Gem from Gem and Collectibles. How you feeling, my brother?
That's right, but looking more like the Gemcade these days as we're moving on to a new house. But nonetheless, we got to jump into this week's hot comics, and we're starting at number 10 with Star Wars issue #1.
Debuting in 1977, issues #1 through 6 adapt A New Hope, and in issue #1 we get Obi-Wan on the cover, but the first appearance of Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader, Princess Leia, C-3PO, and the introduction of the Stormtroopers in comic books. Number 10 on our list because the book is selling so strong, probably because of Disney Plus. What do you think?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this is the Star Wars key. It's the first appearance of like almost everyone in comic books. So makes sense to see this one hit the list. We have a couple different versions to report on, and we're going to start with the 35-cent price variant, which had a huge sale. Not a record breaker, it's the second all-time high. The record breaker was an $11,000 sale from May of this year. The second highest sale comes in this week, selling for $10,200.
An 8.5 Ghost Grail. This right here is such a difficult comic book to assess a value for because they come out so sparingly into the marketplace. And we also have a 9.2, which is up 17% over this past year's average with a $617 sale.
Then we have 9.4s and 9.6s up 11% this time compared to last year when it comes to their average sales. The CGC 9.4 averaging $711 and the 9.6 averaging $1,350.
Comic fam, use code TOM101 on the best comic app in existence, available for both Androids and iPhones. Key Collector Comics. You get access to this Hot 10 prior to us hitting the mic, and it'll up your comic game. Available for both Androids and iPhones. Next at the list at number 9, Amazing Spider-Man, issue #46. We're talking about the Shocker.
You can't keep early Spider-Man keys off of this list, and the Shocker is no exception. The book was heating up years ago when he first debuted into the MCU Spider-Man movies, and is back on the list here today with record-breaking sales. We'll start with a CGC 2.0, which sold for $175 back in October, up now 65%, selling for $289.
CGC 5.0s are sustaining value, actually up upwards of 1 to 2%, selling for around the $500 marker. And the 9.0, I think, is going to have trickle effects because we saw a 2021 sale for $1,525, up 22% this week, selling for $1,860. I got to hear what the community thinks about this book. What about this villain is worth specking on now? You think there's going to be a reprisal? Or do you think Gem's right and it's the bigger books that are outselling themselves, only leaving the kind of C-list heroes and villains to spec on?
Moving on to number 8, we have Amazing Spider-Man 41, just a few issues earlier, which would debut the Rhino.
The Rhino's first appearance, sustaining in value. We didn't get to see him in No Way Home, but members are still specking on this book. $500 for a 4.0. Back-to-back sales happening twice this week, which is slightly above its year-long average, which is intriguing.
It makes me feel like collectors are purposely going after these characters that were just briefly used in the movies. Like we mentioned, Shocker. Here we have Rhino, who was just briefly in the Amazing Spider-Man 2. We have a CGC 6.5 selling 8% higher than last year's average with a $960 sale.
And that's a huge sale, Gem, because when this book hit its heights of $1,000, it had the movie spec behind it. This 9.0, though, I think is going to cause the rest of the lower grades to have an uptick because last August it went for $4,000. This past week, an increase of 11% selling for $4,440 bones. Hot damn, comic fam.
Man, that's a big sale for the Rhino. But moving on to number 7, we got to show DC some love with Shazam, issue 25. You knew it was coming after the Black Adam trailer.
The second appearance of the Black Adam in an official story. This is the book to get because the Golden Age copy is a grail, scarce ghost. Difficult to acquire book. We have multiple sales, record breakers. The book is hot. But isn't it interesting that it's this cool, Gem? I expected this book to be scorching this week, and we're seeing more interest in the Thunderbolts announcement, which was just an announcement, let alone the trailer that dropped for Black Adam that we've been anticipating for 2 years.
I've heard some mixed reviews on the trailer, but nonetheless, we have a CGC 6.0, which sold for $399, which is 5% above last year's average.
Then we have the 9.2 bringing in its second highest sale of all time, selling for $1,155. This book has been all over the place because although that is the second highest this book has ever sold for, that sale is 27% higher than the prior year's average sale.
And then we have the CGC 9.6, also with its second highest sale ever, selling for $2,300, which puts it 16% over last year's average.
Number 6 on the list, we have Iron Man #1, debuting in 1968. The first ongoing solo-titled series, Origin of Iron Man. And I've always thought that this was an undervalued and underappreciated key book to own. And the prices are still affordable in my book, but they're moving up quick as people start to figure out that this book is undervalued. A 1.0 going for $250 in 2020 is up 58% this week with a sale of $395.
But look at the 1.5, it can't even keep up. It sold for $224 in 2021. It's up 23% with this new record-breaking sale of $275, but still less than the 1.0.
Then we have the second all-time high clocked in for a 2.5, selling for $457. Moving on at the list at number 5 with Incredible Hulk issue number 181, the first full appearance of Logan, Wolverine. And some interesting numbers because we have actually been following Hulk 181 for quite some time, and we haven't mentioned this book in a few lists because the numbers haven't been as strong. But now it's making it halfway through our list for good reason.
I can think of 3 reasons why this book should make this list, and we're going to start with the first. A 7.0 had its second all-time high record-breaking sale, selling for $8,250, which is a 31% increase over last year's average.
We saw an 8.0 sell for $8,350 this past week, and that sale is 10% higher than the average it sold for last year.
And lastly, we got to talk about the 9.4, which is now 2% higher than last year's average, selling for $19,500. Now, to put that in perspective, the 90-day average is just $17,000.
Members view Hulk 181's sales as the benchmark to assess the health of a comic book marketplace, especially considering it's one of the most sought-after Bronze Age keys. This book hit near $23,000 in this grade back in January, but also saw lows of $16,000 as recently as March. Seeing it creep back up to near $20,000, although under its all-time heights, shows that it's promising and that members are putting down money to invest in Logan while they still can. Moving on to the list at number 4, more Bronze Age goodness. We have the supernatural meets the occult meets the macabre. We have Marvel Spotlight issue number 5 debuting in 1972, the first appearance of Johnny Blaze, the Ghost Rider.
And I feel like we've been dancing around this book for the last few weeks, talking about all these other Ghost Rider appearances, maybe the first solo series or what have you, but this is the one, man. Marvel Spotlight 5. We have a CGC 3.5 to report on. It's up 8% over last year's average, selling for $1,358. But wait, we got a 5.5 here, which is up 9% over last year's average, selling for $2,150.
The 7.0 is up 5% over last year's average, selling for $3,100. And Jem, we have a 9.2 that's up 20% than last year's average as well.
Yeah, man, that 9.2 just sold for $16,900. A lot of rumors surrounding the character. We kind of have a feeling we're going to get him sometime soon, which is going to propel him to that next level.
We're even hearing rumors that the Stranger Things producers are tied to bringing Ghost Rider to the big screen. I want to know what the community thinks about this. Do you want to see that take place, or do you want to see Nick Cage reprise his role as Johnny Blaze again, like I do? Moving on to the list at number 3, we have Amazing Spider-Man issue 129, more Bronze Age goodness from 1974. We have the first appearance of the Jackal, first appearance of Frank Castle, the Punisher.
And if it feels like we just talked about this book last week, it's because we did. It was number 4 on last week's Hot 10, so moving up in rank here, and that's because we have a few record-breaking sales to report on. A CGC 2.5 is up 18% over last year's average, selling for $1,135.
We have a 5.5 hitting $1,900 this week and a 6.5 hitting $2,179. Both of those sales are trending 4% higher than last year's average sales in those grades.
Then we got to look at the 5.0 and the 7.0. Both of them are up 1% over last year's average, with the 5.0 selling for $1,700 and the 7.0 selling for $2,400. Lastly, a CGC 9.2 is up 12% over last year's average with its recent sale of $5,500.
Comic fam, you gotta slap the like button right there. That is 6 different sales that we reported on that are all trending higher than their prior 12-month average for Frank Castle. Do it for the Punisher and do it for Namor at number 2. With Fantastic Four Annual number 1 debuting in 1963, we have the origin of the FF retold, but we also get the first appearance of Lady Dorma in the Silver Age, Namor finding Atlantis, and this thick book that is tough and high grade is a classic cover. We have Subby on a throne, and the book is blowing up.
And I, for one, couldn't be happier. Congrats to all the Fantastic Four 1 annual owners out there, as the CGC 3.0 is up 9% over last year's average, selling for $475.
Now, this next sale was a glorious deal. A 5.5 fell $12 short from its all-time record price, selling for $664. But take a look at this. We also had a 5.0, a grade point down, sell this past week for $949. Clearly, the member who was scouting that 5.5 got a deal.
No, that was a hell of a deal for sure. A 6.0 sold for $1,200 back in March, but its all-new record-breaking sale puts it up 2%, selling for $1,225.
Comic fam, we are in active enrollment for the July mystery mail call box. ComicTom101.com or hit the link in the description to give me an excuse to send you comics every single month. 1 per box. We've teamed up with legendary artist Gary Frank on Daredevil number 1, a classic Elektra cover going in every single box. Support the show, and let's chat about the number 1 hottest book in the world.
See, what did I tell you? This was on last week's Hot 10 list, coming in at number 2. This week it's number 1. It's not even his first appearance, but it's the first solo series for Ghost Rider. We have a CGC 5.5, which is up 5% over last year's average, now selling for $535. Then we have a 7.5, which is up 4% over last year's average, selling for $780.
Ghost Rider number 1, debuting in 1973. We have a 7.0 record breaker, last selling in March for $844, up 42%, clearing past the $1,000 marker for the first time in comic history, selling for $1,200. Hot damn, comic fam.
And then we have an 8.0 record-breaking sale. It sold for $1,067 just a few days ago. It's up 48%, now selling for $1,576.
Let me know what you think about all of this supernatural spec happening, the Bronze Age spec happening in the comment section below. Like and subscribe, and as always,
Geek responsibly and stay minty fresh.
Enough said. We have 2 other videos for you to check out, and comic fam, you gotta follow me on Whatnot. I'm going over to Dallas Fan Expo from Friday to Sunday, and I'm doing a ton of streaming, getting you the convention exclusives first. Join my Dallas Expo streams, and have a great week.